Programmers are furious right now because I made a video calling them out. They spent a decade trying to learn something and they've made no money. And then vibe coders are coming out of the woodwork using Lovable and Cursor and, like Codex now. And they're creating products that are cash flowing, making actual money with 0 days of coding experience, and programmers aren't making any money. Here's the reason why, guys. I'm going to tell you the secret. This is why programmers are not making any money. Okay. My name's Sean Rakic. I'm a millionaire. One of my businesses does $1 million a month. And now I also have passive 6-figure incomes from softwares that I vibe coded. Because again, this is about business. This isn't about code. Let's have a conversation. Welcome back, guys. This computer's up to some crazy work right now. I was wrong. And I have to tell you how wrong I was about something first before we get into this video. I told somebody in a private conversation that I would never use a local model that was like a 7 billion parameter or something because they're just not intelligent enough. Like, I'm only gonna use like GPT OSS 20B or bigger, right, for my local LLMs. Well, this laptop is running a local LLM, and what it's doing right now is it is helping to bug bash. And you'd say, how could a 7 billion parameter local LLM conduct a bug bash, right? That's really tough, right? Fixing code. Let me tell you how this is going. All right, so I'm using Lovable to create a competitor to N8N. And yeah, some programmers are gonna be like, what are you trying to do that for? That's absurd. Well, I believe that the world of software is changing, and I'm making a bet on that, okay? So my competitor to N8N is going to try to capture a market that is just not completely served. And I do have enough reach with my other YouTube channel, because I'm one of the biggest Airbnb coaches in the world. I do have enough reach with my other YouTube channel that I think I could sell the software, right? So I'm building an N8N competitor that uses decorator patterns. So we have more than just nodes, but we have something called wrappers. I'm actually making it like full-on Lovable style agentic, where you just tell it what you want and it actually builds all the nodes for you on the page, right? And you can see the whole thing happen, which I think makes it more powerful than Lovable in a lot of ways. Because Lovable, it just gives you the product. You can't see the things. You can't nudge the components around. I think this is actually more powerful than Lovable in a way. So I'm pretty much done with it. But Lovable, they tend to do really stupid stuff. There's a lot of things that they do, right? We've had to refactor it a ton of times and all sorts of other reasons. There's all sorts of things that you would need to do to clean up the code base, right? Problem with Lovable is it didn't really make the nodes do what they say they should do. So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna make a beta test manifest, thousands of things to look at, and I'm gonna give it to ChatGPT Codex, OpenAI Codex. And so on this computer, I have Codex running on a browser. And then I have my local LLM using Codex. So what I did is I gave Codex a loop. I gave it we went through making a node and smoke testing it and getting it all done. And then I said to OpenAI, I said, okay, can you make a skill from everything we just did so I don't have to say the same 9 things to you in a row? And it's like, yeah, we can do that. So we made it. I'm like, all right, can you repeat it? And can you repeat it every 3 minutes or something on a cron job? And it's like, yeah, we can do that. But then it couldn't repeat it, right? I gave it a cron job and a container starts and then it shuts down. And then I think the cron dies or something. So instead what I just did is I told my laptop here, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna give you a cron job. I want you every 3 minutes to go into OpenAI and write continue and hit enter. And that's what it's doing every 3 minutes for thousands of iterations. And so here's where I was wrong. A 7 billion parameter model can definitely open up a web browser and then type continue. And that's all it needs to do. It's super deterministic, but it's my dummy action local LLM. So I don't have to spend any tokens for it to just do this, right? So anyway, that's what's up with this. I'm super excited about it. That's it. Let's get back to making money, guys. So I have a few projects that are making money. For example, the very first passive income I've made in the AI space is this company called the B&B Photo Factory. What I did is I took my knowledge of short-term rentals and I took ChatGPT's photo enhancement software and I created a bunch of prompts as an Airbnb expert. And I gave those prompts to ChatGPT and I started taking photos and I made them professional. And then I started taking uglier and uglier photos on my iPhone and then trying to find a way to get those photos to be professional still. And I created basically a journey where any ugly photo we can turn into a professional quality photo that an Airbnb host can use on their Airbnb page. So it is photo enhancement and Airbnb expertise mashed into one. And then I made a website where people can upload their photos and get them enhanced, and we email them their photos. And then I hired a assistant that goes through and does manual support. If anybody doesn't like their photos, we have a manual person that re-prompts them, and I had to train them how prompts work. And the software does all the work, and then we've got an assistant. And so this company is passive, and we're doing hundreds of dollars a day, sometimes even like $500 or $600 a day in sales. And I've got a $7 an hour assistant that also works for my other company. And so I'm maybe paying $20, $30 a day in labor. And we're getting an 8x ROAS on our ad spend. Okay, so it's beautiful, right? This is case in point number one of a non-coder using vibe coding and AI to make extra income where I am absolutely allowed to, right? The last two videos I've done, the last couple of days, I have truly pissed off some programmers. You can see them in the comments. They're like, you don't know shit about shit. I'm like, no, I don't. That's the point. But I can still make a ton of money because I'm capable of that. I understand how business works. I understand how customers work. And this is what's so powerful for you guys, right? This is for you guys. You understand an industry enough to know the nuance. You can use AI to capture the advantage in the nuance. My position as an Airbnb coach, influencer, expert, I was able to make a product that makes other hosts get a result that is uncommon. And the pain that I was able to solve was that real estate photographers charge a lot of stupid money. They charge tons of money, and it takes days to get the photos back. And then if you need new photos, you'd have to take a real estate photographer and have them come out again for a few photos because you bought a new table and they want full price again. The economics of this industry is just terrible. So I was able to use an AI to solve the problem. I found a new market that required a little bit of expertise. My expertise is my moat. I built a very lightweight software, and now I'm delivering it to the market, right? And I'm doing it in the wrong way, I'm sure. If you guys looked at my code, you programmers would go, you coded that wrong. You're probably using the wrong type spacing, or your environmental variables aren't secure, or something. I have a company that's going to be a 9-figure company. It's called Ravande. I do pricing strategy for hosts, another Airbnb thing. You're gonna catch the theme here, my friends. And the theme here is an important lesson. I want you to stay and catch this lesson, okay? For Airbnb hosts, I do revenue management. Somebody signs up for that service, there's a lot of stuff that has to happen, right? And so 2 days ago, I did a video about how I'm using MCP. We initially were using MCP to make my websites more visible, where people want to learn about Airbnb, and an AI like OpenAI or something could come and find stuff about me on my website, but find it through an MCP socket. Hey, we've got questions. What can you tell us? And the bot will go away. I started locking my MCPs away with bearer tokens, right? So in order to use MCP, you have to have a bearer token, and you start a session with a validated token. With that, my agents, my own local, like this guy, not the 7 billion parameter one, but one of these guys, they can go to my Ravande website. And when a customer signs up, the agent can start to do all this work through the website. Update the customer's information, charge a credit card, start wiring listings to different softwares, scrape data, all of this stuff in one big fat session. The website hosted in the cloud where the customer did all of its signups and stuff is still the source of truth, but then my local computers can do all the work from my local computer because I got a Mac 64 hiding away, not here in Australia, but back in the States. I said APIs are dead because an API is like post, get, whatever. MCPs are a very fast, easy way for you to get sessions, and you can create tools, and you can have a tools menu. And whenever a bot goes to the website, it does, looks for the menu, it says, hey, here's all the things that you can do. And it's like, oh, great. And then the bot can reason through that, right? When the bot sees, oh, these are all the things that are possible, and Sean said, I want you to get this customer ready for Ravande, it can go and determine, Sean said, get the customer ready. Here's the tools I have available. What does that all look like, right? This is why MCPs are stronger than APIs, right? Because I can just tell an agent to do something, and the website can do half of the reasoning. It's super powerful. And now I've got customers signing up for, $100 plus per listing memberships, auto draft, right? 10, 20, 30, 50 listings at a time. And my AI agent is doing the hours and hours of initial work to get the thing ready. And then all I have to do is go into my laptop and I just run the pricing strategy for those listings. That's super powerful, guys. So if you have a business where you could have a volume of customers that need to get onboarded and their onboardings are complex, and there might be multiple websites that you have to interface with. Make all of your websites MCP friendly, lock it with a bearer token, give your bot a token, and it can do its thing, right? That's my second vibe coded project. A third one that I've taken advantage of a market in, and it's not directly making the money yet, but it's cool, is I am beating the snot out of every CRM that I've ever worked with, because I've made a website that like Bitly shortens links, right? So I basically bought a variation of my last name, and it's a link shortener, but what we do is we scrape the person's phone. Every time somebody goes and touches one of my links on the way through the middleman, we capture a ton of information. Their device, where they're from, everything we can get about them. And then we plant pixels and cookies and stuff in their phone, okay? Then every other site of mine that they go to, we ping them. There's like a little ledger. Here's every time this device takes any action in my ecosystem, we know every action they take and when. So if they download a freebie, we know it. If they buy one of my products, we know it. If they engage with one of my ads or in my Facebook group, we know it. And this allows me to build robust customer profiles. I created a series of prompts, right? Where now one of my AI agents goes to what we call a transcript blaster. It pulls all the stuff that I've ever said on YouTube, pulls it into one space where it can make material. It can make emails, it can make text messages. It pulls that information. And now what it can do is I say, hey, we need new customers for something, right? It goes through my link shortener and takes all of the leads, and we do what's called like a data enriching or lead enriching. We go into our CRM, we put all this stuff together, we profile the customers that we want to send a text message to, right? And the bots are pulling all this together and say, these are our candidates, to send them some messages. And then it makes custom messages based on the content that we have available, the things that are publicly known about me, stuff that I've done, and all the stuff that we know about these customers. And this link shortening site is the key piece that we needed to both do data enriching and then the customization of the content. This is another thing that I've built without knowing jack about code. But then there's programmers, like we're gonna get back to this. There's programmers that can do all sorts of stuff, right? But they're not doing any of this, right? They don't have a site that tracks customer information, that allows them to do amazing things with their audience, right? They don't have a website that is signing up tens of thousands of dollars a month of reoccurring revenue, where 80% of the workload is offloaded to AI agents, so that way they could focus on the value delivery of their brain being a revenue strategist. They're not building that. They're not building passive AI enhancement sites. They're not building Shopify in 3 hours because ShopPay shut down their peptide lab, which is another one of my businesses. I've got a peptide lab. And we used Lovable to create a Shopify replacement the moment that ShopPay dropped us. They're not pivoting like that. They're programmers that exist in a little glass jar of academia. And they're saying this is how the world should work, but they've never killed a man in real life. They only know about it from the books. And this is the key, my friends, killer instinct, right? Business owners, entrepreneurs, they identify a gap, they punch a hole in it, and they make money while the gap is there. And when the gap closes, they find a new way to make money somewhere else. Or they turn it into a gladiatorial pit and they kill anybody in their radius, right? There's blue ocean markets and there's red ocean markets, and some of the best killers love red ocean markets, right? But programmers are neither type of person, right? And the world no longer needs programmers. And I know I'm sounding really critical, I'm sorry, but let's have an honest conversation. The world didn't need programmers in the 20s and 30s. The world needed engineers. The world needed journeymen and electricians and guys that build warehouses and factory stuff, right? Guys that needed to build presses and machines, right? The industrial era needed a certain kind of person. But then in the internet and chip era, we needed, computer science guys, we needed programmers and coders. But as free markets do what free markets do, they started to get rather expensive, didn't they? Right? Over the last 10 years, coders have just gotten paid an insane amount of money. And they become some of the most entitled brats on the planet, right? They might as well be OnlyFans models, okay? Because they make so much money for so little work. Sorry, programmers, if you want to be mad at me for saying that. The world spit out a solution. The capitalist markets decided we don't want to pay this guy $500,000 a year anymore. We're going to find a solution. We're going to create AI to write all the code. And it's good enough now. Here's the thing, you can yell at me for not knowing what a cron job is technically, okay? You can yell at me because I said that APIs are stateless and MCPs are stateful. When I was saying that to a non-programmer, and they get what I mean, maybe, which is important. right? And a programmer could say, oh, there's stateful APIs. Cool, good. Who gives a shit? The point is that AI is so good that a know-nothing schmuck like me, just a regular business owner, casual guy like me, I do not have to pay $180,000 a year for an employee to build the things that I want to build. It's good enough that I can do it myself. And that's the power for the people, my friends. If you want to have code, you don't need to learn to code. There's some things that you should learn, right? I will tell you guys all about the troubles of trying to vibe code without any knowledge. I do know a little bit of PHP and JavaScript because when I was in the newspaper industry, yes, that's how old I am. When I was in the newspaper industry, I tried to code like little sales widgets to help sales guys do better at sales. So I know a little bit about arrays and whatever, and delimiters and things, okay? And to their point, you do need to know a couple things about a couple things. Because if you don't know that your code can't be a 55,000 line single page and run appropriately, if you don't know what refactoring is, if you don't know that there are security risks in the way that you have everything client side on your website, right? If you don't know these things, then you're gonna make some mistakes. And so you do need to know some good housekeeping basics that coders would know. And here's one bit of advice for you too, though. If you're not a coder, don't waste your time becoming one, right? I've got a rule for AI, and I tell all my students this: you're sprinting. As a business owner, you're sprinting. You're running towards the money. Never stop to sit down like this and go, wait, let me build something that might help me run faster later. You don't spend 14 days learning to build something like this so that way you can run a little faster 14 days from now. You just lost the 14 days. Because if you're not a coder, somebody else is going to innovate the thing you're trying to innovate. They're going to optimize the thing that you're trying to optimize. They're going to do it better than you. They're going to do it sooner than you. So just keep running, okay? And use the tools that are right next to you. Pull those in. Use OpenAI, right? I use it for my thumbnails now. It's just gotten better and better. Use Codex. I'm using it to bug bash something right now. It's getting better and better. Use the things, but don't stop moving. I'm making content. I'm editing content. I'm pitching deals with the CEO of this building that's going up here. I just got 50 units in Melbourne. I've been here 3 days. I'm doing what I'm great at, that I'm doing business at, and I'm using AI to help me go faster without stopping the sprint. That's the key for you, friends. Don't stop your sprint. If you stop your sprint, if you were in my industry, right? If you're in my industry and you stop your sprint, I'm gonna beat you. And I'm gonna be so far ahead of you that the time you try to catch up to me with the thing you built is gonna get obsolescent by the time you get anywhere near me. And I'm just pulling into my scope of vision, whatever I can find along the way. And so if you're a non-coder, do not try to catch up to coders, because being a coder doesn't matter anymore. I know that's the hot take, my friends. But with that said, a lot of what we're going to talk about on this channel is how to get AI to do things you want them to do. That's why this is called Romancing Robots. My success with AI is because English is a programming language now. And I'm a coach, and I'm a public speaker, and I'm a sales guy, right? And so I talk to AI every day. I say, I need you to do this for me. Thank you so much, sweetheart. And the way I talk to a bot gets the job done. And if you don't know how to prompt an agent, if you don't know how to talk to an AI, you're not going to get the right results. That's the real thing that we're going to talk about on this channel, is how to prompt well, how to plan well through an AI, how to get the AI to be a good employee. And I hope to give you a lot of value in that. So I need to change into a suit. I got to go meet the CEO guy. Thank you so much for catching this rant, and I'll see you on the other side.